For millions of fans, Chris Evans will always be Steve Rogers, the brave, loyal, and almost impossibly perfect superhero who carried the shield through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before he became Captain America, Evans was simply a young actor trying to figure out where he belonged in Hollywood. And his journey to becoming one of the world's most recognizable stars wasn't exactly straightforward. Chris Evans was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and grew up in a close knit family. From a young age, he was interested in performing. He eventually moved toward acting, landing television roles and smaller movie parts as he tried to establish himself. But becoming a major Hollywood star didn't happen overnight. Early in his career, Evans appeared in movies that showed he had potential, but he was still searching for the role that would completely change his life. And then came Marvel, before Captain America. Interestingly, Captain America wasn't Evans' first superhero role. He had already played Johnny Storm, also known as the Human Torch, in the Fantastic Four movies. That experience introduced him to the world of comic book movies. But it also meant that when Marvel later approached him about playing Captain America, the decision wasn't as simple as it might seem. Taking on Steve Rogers meant signing up for a massive commitment. He wasn't just accepting one movie, he was potentially becoming the face of one of the biggest franchises in Hollywood. And that kind of attention came with enormous pressure. Becoming Captain America, eventually, Evans accepted the role. In 2011, Captain America, the First Avenger, introduced audiences to his version of Steve Rogers. And something unexpected happened. Chris Evans didn't just play Captain America, he made the character feel human. Steve Rogers wasn't powerful because he was the strongest person in the room. He was powerful because he cared about doing the right thing, even when it was difficult. Evans brought that personality to life, and over the years, the character became one of the most beloved figures in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Movies like The Avengers, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Captain America, Civil War, and Avengers Endgame turned Evans into a worldwide superstar. But the bigger his fame became, the more interesting his relationship with Hollywood seemed to become. The man behind the shield. Unlike many celebrities who constantly chase the spotlight, Evans has often appeared more comfortable keeping parts of his personal life away from the public eye. He has spoken about the pressures that can come with fame and has shown interest in working behind the camera as well as in front of it. And that's what makes his story so interesting. Chris Evans didn't seem to want fame simply for the sake of being famous. He wanted to act, tell stories, and eventually have more control over the kind of work he created, walking away from Captain America. Then came one of the biggest moments of his career. After years of playing Captain America, Evans completed his major arc as Steve Rogers in Avengers Endgame. For fans, seeing him put down the shield was emotional. Captain America had become almost inseparable from Chris Evans himself. But Evans knew that eventually every chapter has to end. Instead of trying to play the same character forever, he began exploring different types of projects. He took on dramatic roles, comedy, action movies, and even voice performances. That decision showed something important about him. He wasn't interested in being trapped by the character that made him famous. He wanted to prove that there was more to Chris Evans than Captain America, the bigger story. And maybe that's the biggest surprise of his journey. Chris Evans became famous for playing a superhero, but his career has always been about something much more human. It's about taking risks, dealing with pressure, learning from setbacks, and knowing when it's time to move forward. The world may remember him as the man holding Captain America's shield. But behind that shield is an actor who spent years building his career, questioning his choices, taking on challenges, and eventually creating a path beyond the superhero role. So yes, Chris Evans is Captain America. But he's also much more than Captain America, and perhaps that's exactly why audiences connected with him in the first place. Because sometimes the most interesting story isn't about how someone becomes a superhero, it's about who they become after they take the mask off. And Chris Evans' story is still being written.